Good morning and welcome back. Today we're in 2018 in Japan and we're talking about mirrorless versus DSLR. Which one is right for you? This is a very controversial topic. Depending on where you come from, you might have totally different opinions. I come personally from the DSLR world, went from full frame Canon to full frame Nikon. And then recently I switched to a Panasonic for video, mainly a mirrorless camera. And now I switched all my photography gear and video for Sony. And it's a mirrorless camera, it's a Sony a7R III. And I think being in Japan here is actually the right place to talk about what are the main differences and why do I think now with my experience that actually mirrorless nowadays in 2018 are better. My biggest reason why I think mirrorless are so amazing nowadays is the viewfinder. So in case you don't know, on a DSLR, the viewfinder is going to show you direct view of whatever your lens is seeing. It's just as if I was looking through here. I don't have any information, I don't know how my shot is going to look like, I don't have anything of that. Now with mirrorless cameras, it's actually like an electronic screen you're going to be looking inside, and that screen is going to show you a render of the picture you're going to be shooting. You see exactly all the settings you're dialing in, how they're actually changing the photo you're going to be taking before you even take it. That's a huge advantage. And until I would say about a year ago, I could not switch because the viewfinders were really slow in my opinion. And I thought there was a bit of lag between the reality and what I would see in a mirrorless viewfinder. With the DSLR, it's so instant, I always felt that it was faster. Now I have to say 2018, blown away by those viewfinders. Amazing. You can review the image also inside, which cuts out all the ambient light. You have too much reflection in the back screen, it's too bright, you can't see it. Then you just put your eye on the viewfinder, and that's in my opinion absolutely amazing. Another huge advantage, and that's something I didn't even know was possible when I was on DSLR. I was always frustrated by the fact that on the DSLR, you cannot put your focus point in the corners, like all the way in the corners on the edges of your frame. Guess what? It is possible on mirrorless, which is super exciting. You can literally take your focus point and put it, if you want, anywhere on the edges of that frame, which in my opinion is really cool. I used to do a lot of focus recompose with the other cameras because I couldn't get to those edges on the sensor, but now with the mirrorless I don't even have that problem. I just tap on the edge of the screen, I know I'm gonna have the focus there, and that is a game changer in my opinion. It saves me a lot of time, and also it means that I can use my autofocus in continuous mode even when I'm on the edges of the frame. Yay, awesome. I'm super excited about that, to be honest. Alright, the real barrier to entry for anyone in mirrorless until now has been the battery life, in my opinion. This was a huge deal breaker for me. I did not want to carry 7 batteries anywhere. I considered a Sony a7 back in the past, but I never went for it because people were reporting having to use like 7 batteries for shooting one wedding. I was like, I'm gonna go insane with my DSLR, I only need 2 batteries. But nowadays, in 2018, guys, it really improved. First, when I got the Panasonic last year or a year and a half ago, I was really impressed. I could shoot about 400-500 photos with it until the battery died. Then GH5 was actually really good. I could shoot the whole day in video, make a whole vlog, a few photos, and use only 1 battery. If I was going really intense, I would take 2 batteries. But now that I've seen that Sony a7 also improved the battery, I actually made the switch. And right now I can shoot the whole day with 1 battery, which is amazing. If I'm doing intense work also, I'm gonna add another battery, but it's a huge advantage that was a huge deal breaker in the past because no one wants to carry more gear. Tuna really wants takoyaki right now. I'm gonna get it, and we're gonna talk about the last point. That is an advantage, a disadvantage. It depends on which system you're going for. With this super cute street to talk about the last point, and I want to talk about being discreet, being a beginner, and also size. So first, being discreet, super important for me when I'm traveling, when I'm doing street photography, or when I used to do weddings, to have a camera that can shoot silently. What is silently? It simply means when you press the shutter, there is no sound. The DSLR, it's almost impossible because there's a mirror going up and down, so you're gonna hear it. A few cameras have a silent mode, But now, on the mirrorless camera, the sound is actually artificial, which means you can change the sound your camera makes when you click the shutter, because since there is no mirror going up and down, there's no sound, mechanical sound behind it. Which means you can approach people discreetly, you can take photos, no one notices. It really gives you the ability to catch raw emotions, in my opinion, way easier. Now in terms of size, a lot of people at the beginning have been pushing the argument that, well, mirrorless cameras are way smaller than DSLRs. I agree, up to a certain extent, is that if you want a full frame mirrorless, the glass that you're going to be using, if you want a great quality of glass, the glass is still going to be big, your lenses are going to be big, so that's something to consider. I do think my Sony a7R III is smaller than my Nikon D750, that's a given. I really like the grip on a smaller camera. Anything smaller than the full frame sensor, I can tell you those cameras can get really small. The lenses get really small on the Panasonic with the Micro Four Thirds system. Fuji, Olympus, they get like those tiny lenses that are beautiful with small cameras. It's a great advantage if you're shooting street photography. Personally, I really love my shadow depth of field. That's why I keep my full frame sensor. We can talk about that another time. The last thing I'm going to mention is simply if you're a beginner, if you're starting in photography, in my opinion, mirrorless cameras are going to help you a lot more to improve at the beginning, because whenever you dial in a setting, as I mentioned, you have a direct review of what it changed. And that is crucial. You don't have to shoot photos and you look at the back of the screen every 5 seconds. You can directly know what settings you change, what it does to your image. It's a great advantage in my opinion. Now I want to know about you. What do you shoot mainly with? Do you shoot with a DSLR or do you shoot with a mirrorless? And also, what do you think of both systems? Is there one that you prefer over another? Have you changed over the time? I think that's a very interesting discussion. A lot of people ask me what camera they should get, and more in 2018 now, I'm really telling them to go and take a look at the mirrorless cameras, what is being done. And even Nikon and Canon now have decided to finally take a full frame camera and put it mirrorless for professionals, which is super exciting news. So far they've been really taking it super easy and conservative, staying in the DSLR realm, but Sony and Panasonic and Fuji have been shaking up things a lot for them, and I think it's highly time for them to just get into that game. Let's see what happens. I'm super excited. Maybe you guys have some insights, some thoughts about it. Let's see what happens. This is my photography channel. If you like that video, leave it a big thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe because there's a lot more content like that coming up. If you like what you're seeing in the background here in Osaka, I was thinking of doing a street photography video explaining the settings that I use for all the shots I take. And remember, everything that I talk about, everything that I shoot is also on Instagram, so make sure you go check that out. It's at Pierre T. Lambert. Now I'm super hungry. We've been passing so much food all around, so I'm just gonna get out there, get something to eat, join Trina, and just sink into that craziness and go take some photos. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Shut up, that's mirrorless?
Yes.
I had no clue. That's great. My bad.
Exactly.